Шановні колеги, доброго дня. Український медіа-центр реформ.
Good morning. We continue our work, and now we will have a briefing of the Minister of Education, Sergiy Kvit. He will tell us about specifics of entering campaign this year. Good morning. I can tell you about this entrance campaign, but the main idea of the briefing is this campaign, and also whether from Crimea they could enter Ukrainian universities. So we thought that we needed to react to the interest of the press and social networks or media to this issue, because the situation is developing in such a way that in Ukraine we have occupied territories and Crimea and part of Luhansk and Donetsk regions, and according to that we have our own proposals, and those ideas, opportunities for them, how they can enter Ukrainian universities. All of them have a chance to get Ukrainian diplomas or documents, and they could pass exams on distance, and they can get Ukrainian documents, and also they can sign up for assessment, and also they can pass the test. When there is that test, in order to enter universities, we always we can create some benefits for them in terms of time, etc. We did it last year, and this year we do the same. We do everything possible for our entrance from occupied territories. But anyways, if we speak about Donetsk and Luhansk regions, because of combats or battles there, military activities there were such cases that from some town they passed one test, and they could not make for the other one because everything was closed. They were not able to pass even to the territory because of the battles, and it was impossible physically to get to the exams. As to Crimea, we cannot say how many entrants will get into universities, because of those who wanted it. They signed in Kherson region, and there was no special mark that they are from Crimea. We'll get statistics later. It becomes very clear that Ukraine could somehow be more open more opportunities for Crimean students, pupils to get into high school students there to enter Ukrainian universities. The policy of the country is that we don't recognize Crimea under Russia, and also we don't recognize any documents with Russian steps and with stems terrorist groups Elena and Dena in Ukraine. That's a principal position. So that's why even if we have interstate negotiations with Russia, that in no case we don't consider Crimea occupied territories and Donbas as such as they are not a part of Ukraine. It's a principal position of our state policy that we don't recognize except occupation. And we recognize that those regimes are occupationary, and the occupied territory of Ukraine. That creates some problems for entrance, and we communicate with activists and from Crimea who live in Ukraine, and also from Crimea who live in Crimea. And we have very interesting information. For example, I have friends, Crimean Tatars, who stood for Ukrainian class for their children in Simferopol, but under the threat is their job. Because they work in a university, they can lose their job just because they were standing for Ukrainian class for their kids. And so the processes. We can only learn about that from conversations, but there is no public opinion poll. All activists are concerned that they would like Crimean kids to have very concrete opportunities, not complicated, simple opportunities and very concrete status for the kids, for them to be able to enter Ukrainian universities. That is a task which is very important for us, and somehow to change and to simplify, to ease those conditions, we can do that only through changing laws, and the level of the ministry will not doubt that Crimea is an occupied territory and we cannot recognize their documents. How we do that? In the near future, we'll have maybe roundtables and maybe consultations, additional consultations, and we'll speak to MPs or through the government. We'll suggest some amendments to the legislation, which is clear for me how we can do it. I probably could go through some quotas for Crimeans. And we have such procedures of receiving or accepting entrants who have status of foreign Ukrainians. Every year from Transnistria, we don't recognize Transnistria as a separate state, but we understand that that is a part of Moldova, and there are Ukrainians living there, and about 30 students or 30 school kids that will become students, and we have quotas. In Crimea, this is a territory of Ukraine. They are not foreign Ukrainians, so we have to develop the status for those kids from Crimea, and that draft law should be only about Crimea, not all occupied territories. The situation in Donbas is different, and we have to consider that differently. That's why I believe that will work next several months for us during a year to pass all the law which will be about Crimea, and also those who graduate from Crimean high schools, all who have concrete proposals, whether activists or lawyers or anyone who is interested in this issue. Help us, communicate with us, because we collect their proposals. So far we didn't have anything concrete, and we had some our own ideas, and we are expecting to get some ideas from activists, and only when we change the legislation, we can make procedures easier for kids from Crimea to open universities to them. Ukrainian universities. I would like to underline that because of that, there are some other things in our Ukrainian universities. We open, for example, Crimean and Tatars studies, like in Kiev Mohil Academy, and quite serious studies are in Taras Shevchenko University, and also there will be we'll open Crimean Tatars Culture Center. That process will grow. That's only a part of a solution. We agreed with Rabat Chubarov, that who is the leader of Mengelis of Crimean Tatars, that on the website of the Ministry of Education and Science will have a separate page only in Crimean Tatars. There will be all information about education for Crimean Tatars, and this will be cultural information, and it will be addressed for Crimean Tatars in Ukraine or all over the world. Through the site of the Ministry of Education, Crimean Tatars will have their own page, and there will be a cultural education gravitation point for Crimean Tatars. But now we speak about all from Crimea who would like to study in Ukrainian universities, and there is one more problem I would like to touch. That is the problem of that, in my opinion, we need to open in Ukraine also Russian studies in universities, and that doesn't mean that all universities, but some leading universities could have Russian studies, because we need to understand what is happening in Russia. We need to understand what is happening in Crimea. Of course, if we call Putin and the Russian government that is an international gang of terrorists, that's true, but that's not enough. Just understand that fact is not enough. We need to understand processes in that country. What is happening in the opposition? Who can be potential in the opposition? What is happening in the economy and political and social life? I would like to draw attention to the fact that in the West, during Cold War, they opened a certain departments and the research institutions on Sovietology, for example. People will learn what was happening in the Soviet Union. Now we're working with Stanford University, and they would like to open Ukrainian studies. But those Ukrainian studies are based on the big traditions of learning processes in the Soviet Union, and those humanitarian, those professors who are working on that in Stanford University, they understand clearly what is modern Ukraine. And what is the underground of those process of process like revolution of dignity, etc. They have traditions. They have the educated people who understand that, and that's why we, in addition to understanding the criminal nature of Putin's regime, we need to understand process in Russia. That is a separate topic, but it is related to this topic like Ukraine and Crimea, and how to open our universities and schools to Crimeans and to Ukrainian education.
As regards, well, since I was introduced, according to the admission campaign, in Ukraine progresses in a normal way, and there is no panic. The universities, I believe about 3 years more, we'll have the situation where we have the diminished number of the candidates for the university students, but today is a very big demand in many universities for preschool education. Who is going to deal with that, because the birth rate increases, but the would-be students number decreases, and the let's say the state order for the would-be specialists is decreased, but all the universities and colleges are in the proper way. I mean, we are going to have the another meeting of the contest commission today. We are going to transfer, let's say, the state orders to the best universities, because students can travel from region to region to the best universities. That's why we send those state orders to the best regional universities, so that each region has its own personnel, its own potentiality, so that each region has good universities. That was a short introductory speech of mine, and if you have any questions, please. Ukrainian news, the first question. Yesterday, Arsen Yatsenyuk said that he is not satisfied with his state order, which doesn't meet the requirements of the labor market, and they instructed the Ministry of Education to do something about that. So what actions you're going to take? And number two question, today's number of the would-be students, and okay, could you tell us whether there were some complaints to on the hotline, what measures were taken by the ministry, and a bit more about the format of the studies you mentioned, the Ukrainian and Russian. As for the statistics for the would-be students, I'm going to have an updated number this night, so I'm not going to give you the exact figure now about the would-be students. As for the state order, when this order is reduced, so to say, then there is none of the categories of the people who would be completely satisfied. There are always claims and complaints that there are some decreased in those spheres what could be useful for Ukraine, etc., etc. But in any case, we are going to optimize and to improve and to do the system more comprehensible, more understandable regarding the state order, because the state order is being formed over a year period of time, because this is a very lengthy process. They collect all the information from would-be employers, etc., etc. This is a cumbersome system, and I hope that next year we're going to have more clear and understandable situation how it is formed. I mean, the state order. So we're working on this issue, and I believe that the Minister of Economy, which is responsible for them, they have to think how it's going to take place, and the most important, there is no delay, because the technical process suffers as a result of that. One more point. In my opinion, the state order is a Stalin form of formation of the system of education. It's not that the state actually places the order for a number of the students which the state needs. In my opinion, we need to have some process in parallel. We have to trust universities, and we have to follow, well, we have to look at the higher education, not as a system which has to be changed. Higher education consists of specific universities, and we have to have in this country the list of the brand universities which would be competitive in the international arena. So we have to trust those what they need, because the universities' brands must be built in the system of economy. They have to have a direct contacts with employers, etc. So the state has to support the strong and powerful universities, as is the case the world over, and the forms through the state order. You know, in the future we have to say goodbye to that. We should not use that. And the number of the let's say of the jobs in universities should not depend on the number of the students. This is the wrong way to follow, and we still have not departed from this, only because we have today a very complicated situation in the economy. We cannot change the system overnight, but I believe in the future, in a few years from now, we will have to depart from this system and cooperate with the universities. In perspective, the universities have to have the complete financial autonomy, irrespective of what sources of finance they have, because the state, how to put it, the state needs the result. They are high quality, highly skilled graduates, and in other words, this is a high quality human capital, which can be translated in innovations. In other words, creation of innovative technology. This is the task of the state, and not to control, exercise control over every cent or kopeck spent by the university. So I believe that in a few years from now we are going to depart from this system of state orders and form some other system of development of the higher education in Ukraine, but at the same time we have to establish new high-quality universities, and we shouldn't have any non-quality or lower-quality universities, and which take a poor, let's say, care of training students and just dealing with some research. Over the last few, let's say, of late, we just suspended or terminated licenses of over 70 universities, branches all over Ukraine. This is not too big a number, but we are going to continue this process. Yeah, okay, answering the question about the studies, the Crimean Tatar studies, not the Russian studies. The Crimean Tatars do not have any other motherlands but Ukraine. That's why studying, learning the Crimean Tatar language and its culture must be in the focus of our attention. That's why the Crimean Tatar studies in different forms will be provided in different universities. The Russian studies, conditional speaking, we have to understand better what's going on in Russia. And you know, and only to score and blame the powers that be and Putin and his clique, whatever, it's not enough. From professional point of view, we have to have a more deeper understand what's going on there. So we have some kind of contrast. Once Putin is bad, then he appears on the stage and he seems good, and he said, and then he again said that Crimea is Russian, and we again do not like him. So this kind of, you know, jumping from one side to another is not what we need. We have to deeply study those processes to carry out the sociological research, contact with the professionals who deal with that in different other universities, contact with the scientific and educational environment in Russia. Not everybody there is criminal, you know, and there are independently thinking intellectuals, which is also the case in Russia. We have to find those people and contact with those. And the channel 1+1, are you going to revisit these scholarships this year? What is the minimum scholarship today and the maximum? Scholarships are not going to be revised, as it was the case. They are going to remain the same level. We have the notion of social scholarship. The whole system of the scholarship support remains intact. We did not diminish the scholarship from fund. We have special line budget which was not changed. One thing which you can say that we have a working group working on how we are going to improve the scholarship support of students, which includes the scholarship governance, representative, etc., etc. This is not the problem for this year or the next year, but we have to achieve scholarship support for the students because they, like in Europe, those people have to be eligible to scholarship who show or demonstrate some kind of outstanding results in their studies or work, whatever. Those categories should have these scholarships. But such documents and these are being considered now, and we are going to have consensus to accept that or to admit that. There will be no behind the scenes decision, but this is, again, I repeat myself, this is not the issue to be tackled this year or next year. ICTV channel, clarification regarding the would-be students from the Crimea. We are going to extend the admission campaign for them. How much realistic it is that they can enter and be admitted to the universities? And what about those children who still want to study in Ukraine? Maybe we are going to create some other conditions, or well, I start with this. We are working on the changes to be amendments to be introduced into legislation. Only this way we can change the situation. This work is going to continue because this is not the work for 1 or several months. So I call upon those who can support us with their ideas, maybe to supplement what we are doing, especially in the legal field. But we do not plan to extend anything, any period. You have to understand, we have to extend something when we have a special request. We do not have neither complaints nor, let's say, requests. Those people who would like to enter this or now university, they just do that. And no information actually reached me. Sometimes I receive the letters in Facebook and email, and I see there is some problem which needs to be resolved. But so far, at the level of the Ministry of Education, no problem has been voiced. And we have very good feedback. That's why today I can't say any reasons why we should extend this way or another way the period of the admission campaign, because there are no requests or complaints on the part of the Crimean residents. And see what in today's newspaper, what the specialties are most popular this year, are there difference as compared with previous years, and maybe there are some changes in the market, and something has to be changed because sometimes it does not is not correlated. Again, we still they still send in their documents. I mean, they would be students, and we haven't started the admission campaign. Yes, the process doesn't differ much from the previous years. We have an increase in the interest towards the IT, specialty, humanitarian sector, cultural studies, etc., etc. And there is big interest in law, in legal and economic specialties or specialization. Anything real new that something drastically differs this year from last year, I cannot say so. Can't say that. We also have some other facts. According to the number of the applications, the Western Ukraine universities lead the way. I'm talking about the universities, Ivan Franko University and the Lviv Polytechnic. There is also Kyiv University and Kharkiv University, because we have the fact of creating very powerful educational centers, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk. I believe this is very normal. Not everything should be concentrated in the capital city of Ukraine. When I was talking about the state order, I mentioned slightly our state policy that we are trying to pay much more attention to regional universities, because each region has to have its own material and technical base, and the universities, etc. Yulia Khovanskaya, News of Donbas. Can you tell us either any figure how many higher schools did not leave the occupied territory? We know that the Donetsk National University left that area, went to UNITSA, but there are some of the universities who claim that they are going to use license issued by the Ministry of Education till the year 2018. This is not true.
Що
a number of universities, and 16 universities from Luhansk and Donetsk region. They moved to other regions of Ukraine. Mostly they went to Donbas region because they had their campuses and they had their separate structural structures, and mostly on Donetsk, but also in Vinnytsia, to Kryvyi Rih, and to other regions of Ukraine. They moved also. If somebody states in Donetsk that they use the license, it's not true because we gave information about that. I don't believe that we should every month to give such a message to those universities. We believe that in Donetsk and Luhansk there are no universities, and those people who say that they give education, they have no licenses, no accreditation. We made the first list, and there is 12 people, and we cancelled the ranks of PhD and professors. Those are people who were the most aggressive, in a sense of pressure on academic collectives, and to promote the ideas on DNR, we cancelled the ranks, scientific ranks, and those people cannot represent anyone. There is an interesting process also there, that we practically at every meeting we cancel scientific ranks of people who are condemned in plagiat, and they are in the Donbas region, but it's independently where they are. We have our own list, how we go through complaints, and then we ask to test those who can be thesis of those who can be condemned in plagiats, and in Donetsk and Luhansk they have no universities. And don't you believe that quotes for entrance from Crimea, like you proposed, there will be violation of the constitution and the right of citizens for education. Do you have some other proposals and as to how to fix this problem? We should start with the fact that we need to provide rights of those citizens who would like to study in universities. And the situation with Crimea, it's not Crimean Tatars, I would like to underline, who like to study, and sometimes they don't have a passport, but me as a minister, I had such information that students or kids and in schools, they're told tomorrow bring passports. They just they collect them and never see Ukrainian passports anymore. So I believe when some kid graduates from a high school, they have the right for choice, and if occupational authorities don't give such a choice, they enforce them to become citizens of Russia, and or they will be exempt of something, and we understand that there's the pressure on parents and partially on children. Then we should give a chance to children to make their own choice, and that's why I don't believe that the principle of quotes will be, and I don't believe it is discrimination. It's one of the proposals. We'll work with activists and those who like to give the proposals. We'll consider them, but we work with quotas quite well in the system of such categories as foreign Ukrainians, but Crimean Ukrainians, they are not foreigners. It's complicated, and we invite you to help us. The last question, unfortunately we don't have more time. News from Donbas. Tell me if there are some benefits for students, IDPs, and benefits for those who live in dormitories, and now there are battles even they cannot return to their territories, and okay, they are kicked out of benefits during entrance. No benefits. There are two beneficial categories, and children of those who died in ATO, and the second category, participants of ATO who were not able to pass the test because they participated in the one on the front. Those people, they can pass the test. They may, without certificates universities could accept them through exams, and there are no other beneficial categories. Thank you very much. I understand that there are a lot of questions to the minister. If it is so, please you can continue the conversation unofficially in a minute. We have